Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the G&L Doheny Tribute model in emerald blue metallic. Now this is not a brand new guitar, although this specific instrument was made in 2021, but it is my latest step on my journey into discovering the world of offset guitars. And G&L is a very natural choice for me to go down, because for those of you who didn't know, G&L was a company formed by Leo Fender and his friend George Fullerton, there's the G and the L possibly, after Leo Fender left Fender guitars. So in many ways this could be the Jazzmaster or the Jaguar or the mix of the two that Leo Fender never made for Fender themselves. So the Doheny, there is a Californian built model as well made in Los Angeles, and there is this one made in Indonesia as well. It's much more affordable. It'll set you back around $650 or 700 euros or even under £500 if you happen to live in the UK. So it's pretty much an affordable instrument, and it costs less than a current Fender player Jazzmaster or Jaguar is going to set you back as well. So it sits between the most expensive Squiers and the most affordable Fenders in terms of price. But what do we get for our money here? Well, in this video I'm going to tell you exactly that. First I'm going to tell you about the specifications and the features of this guitar, then we'll play it in as many different musical styles, settings and genres as I can muster up today. And at the end, I've had this guitar at home for a few weeks now, I've played it extensively in that time. I will give you some more in-depth opinions on what I think about this instrument and whether or not I think the first G&L that I've actually properly tried is going to be worth your money at the end of the day. So stick around for that. So let's get first into those specifications and features. Now, the G&L Doheny Tribute looks very similar to a Fender Jazzmaster at first look, and no surprises there. They were both designed by Leo Fender himself. So you've got that obvious offset guitar, we've got this large body, we've got that full 25.5-inch scale length as well. But there are other subtle differences, evolutions of the Jazzmaster design, if you will, that Leo Fender incorporated into his G&L guitars. Now let's go through what we've got on this specific instrument. So we've got a poplar body here under this beautiful emerald blue, shiny metallic finish. I think it looks really, really nice. We've got a 3-ply scratch plate, white, black, white. We've got 2 pickups, and they're G&L Leo Fender MFD, magnetic field design pickups. They're single coil pickups. They're not Jazzmaster pickups, they're not P90s, they're single coil pickups, and you're going to hear exactly how they sound in the playing part of this video. We've got a 3-way selector switch to move between the 3 pickups. We've got a G&L dual Fulcrum vibrato bridge here, and we've got 3 controls. And this is where we also get something a little bit special. We've got a master volume control and 2 tone controls here, but they're not standard tone controls that you would expect with many other brands of electric guitar. These are what G&L call PTB controls, passive, treble and bass. So they're effectively passive cuts, a high pass filter and a low pass filter. And if you turn this one down, you're turning down the amount of treble or high end in your tone. And if you turn this one down, you're turning down the amount of bass, low end in your tone. So it's a very effective tool for sculpting the tone of both pickups. Now I'm going to give us many playing examples in the playing part of the video where you can hear different settings on this, different pickup selections, and you're really going to hear the tonal versatility of this guitar. If I just flip it over to the back once again, we can see that we've got a bolt-on neck there, typical for Fender type guitars, and we've also got your traditional tummy cut over here as well. Moving up to the neck, you can see again we've got a 25.5-inch scale length, hard rock maple neck with a maple fingerboard. It's a vintage tint as well, and it's been applied very, very sparingly, I would say, so not too thick. There's not loads of poly on this, so it's not going to get super sticky as you play. And at the back of the neck, I would actually say it almost feels like a satin finish to me, so really, really smooth and sleek. The profile of the neck itself, I would say, is a C shape, and it's medium to tending towards the slightly chunky, so very, very comfortable indeed. Now we've got a 41.3mm nut here, we've got 21 frets, and we've got black block inlays here to show you where you are on the fretboard. And if I take us up to the headstock there, we can see the traditional G&L design with G&L's own tuners there on the headstock. So this is the Doheny Tribute model in emerald blue metallic, and what we're going to do next is play it in as many different styles as we possibly can to hear how versatile these pickups can go. Now guitars like this of course were influenced originally on surf guitars and surf music from the 50s and 60s, but this guitar can do way more than that, and that's what I'm going to show now. So my rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp. We'll start on the amps clean channel and we will play a surf riff or two. We'll play some folk and some pop and a little bit of of blues and stuff as well. Then we'll move over to the amp's crunch channel and we'll play some classic rock and some indie rock as well. After that, we'll try a bit more high gain. We'll go up to the amp's lead channel and we'll try some harder rock, some progressive rock and some punk as well. And at the very end, we'll go back to the clean channel. I'll activate my Rev G3 distortion pedal. We'll tune the Doheny down to drop D and see if it can do a bit of chug. I also think that guitars like this, offsets, are very much suited to atmospheric and ambient noodling, so I've got my Source Audio Collider pedal at the ready as well. That's a dual delay reverb, and at some point we'll kick that on and get into some real ambient tones with this guitar too. Enough talk then, it's the G&L Doheny Tribute. Let's play it now and we'll speak in more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the G&L Doheny Tribute in emerald blue metallic, and I hope you enjoyed the playing and the tones. And I hope you've already come to the same realization as I did when I got to play this guitar, in realizing that it can actually do way more than you might expect an offset guitar to be able to do. So let's speak about it now in a bit more detail. Now, there's a lot of things that are important about guitars when you try them for the first time, and one of the most important for me is first impressions. And the first impressions when I picked this guitar up out of the box were sensational. Now, this guitar was sent to me by the lovely people at Music Vine, who are the distribution partners for G&L in Germany, so they've lent me this guitar to make this video with, so cheers Frank and team for doing that. And I was really amazed when I got it out the box, because I love a blue guitar, as you'll know if you watch my channel, and the emerald blue metallic of this one, it's kind of more green than blue, but you know the Doheny model was named after Doheny Beach, near Fullerton in Los Angeles, where these guitars were designed, and the American ones are still built to this day. And I have the feeling that this emerald blue metallic guitar looks quite a lot like the Pacific Ocean does over there. So it's a beautiful finish. It really jumps out at you when you get the guitar out of the box. And I actually prefer normally a rosewood or an ebony board over a maple one, but this vintage tint maple neck really sets off nicely with the rest of the guitar. It looks fantastic. It looks traditional, but also retro futuristic at the same time. And I really liked it. When I picked it up, I realized that it was quite a weighty beast. They do have big bodies, these guitars. They're large larger than the offset bodies of certain other companies that are building offset guitars today, and this specific example weighs 3.77 kilograms, which is 8.5 pounds in American measurements. So it's not too bad a weight overall, it's not a backbreaker, and considering it's such a large instrument with a poplar solid body, it's really not too bad, and I'm happy to report that it balances extremely well on a strap as well, so that's also pretty cool. Now when I first got into playing the guitar, I was really taken in by this beautiful neck. The profile is just fantastic, it really seems to fit my fingers very well, and the guitar's been set up very well too. I love the 25.5-inch scale length, I'm very much at home on that scale length. I dig the 9.5-inch fingerboard radius and the medium jumbo frets. It gives this guitar a slightly more modern feel, which I can really enjoy, and it makes it a lot easier to play. Now in terms of the frets themselves, they've been done very well, no issues whatsoever, and in terms of the build quality of this guitar, I can find no faults whatsoever. Bear in mind that this is an Indonesian-made guitar and not an American-made one, but the rest of the hardware did its job really well. There is one small exception. Now the tuners were fantastic, the pots were great, I love the two knobs that you've got here for passive, treble and bass control options. That gives you so many different EQing possibilities, but we'll cover that a bit more in the playing part. The switches and the pickups were fantastic too. The one issue I had slightly was when abusing the vibrato a little bit too much, the guitar had the slight propensity to go out of tune, so it will benefit from a full and thorough setup there, but apart from that, no issues whatsoever. So this guitar looks fantastic and it plays brilliantly too, but what about those tones? Now these are pickups that I've never ever played before. I've never played Fender designed MFD, magnetic field design pickups. They're similar to Jazzmasters in the way that they look, they're similar to P90s in the way that they look too, but they are single coil pickups, so they're sort of their own thing. And in terms of tones, I was amazed at how versatile they are and how they can go from brittle, sparkly, take your head off cleans all the way through to pretty thick, crunchy and almost metal tones as well. You would not buy this guitar to play metal music, that's for sure, but it can handle high gain stuff very well as well, and these pickups are not even that noisy. So starting off with the clean tones, and I spent an awful lot of time playing this guitar on the clean channel. When I first got it out of the box, I lost a couple of hours just going through the different possibilities that I had with the two pickups and with the passive treble and bass selection here. It's wonderful, with a splash of reverb, a beautiful guitar to just spend your time playing music and enjoying. I got everything from twangy country through to sparkly blues, through to really nice, almost acoustic-y sounds for acoustic sort of chordal stuff, through to pretty much everything that I wanted to do. It does funk really well, it did the ambient stuff really well too with extra reverb and delay, and it really covered every bass in terms of clean sounds. Now in terms of favorite tones there, I actually spent a lot more time on the neck pickup than I do with many of my other guitars. Now this has a beautiful snarl to it with the bass all the way up, but you can wind that down slightly and it becomes a bit more manageable, a bit cleaner, and just sounds lovely. Sparkly and jangly all at the same time. I really like these pickups for clean tones, and they kept their amazing clarity when I added gain too. Now on the crunch channel of the amp we did a lot of indie rock and classic rock too. That's where I personally spend a lot of time when I'm playing music, and this guitar covered those bases perfectly for me. It had just the right amount of aggression and top end for the indie stuff. I could just wind back the treble control to take off some of the high end when it got to be a little bit too much, and it had lovely thick pushed tones for classic rock as well. Now I found that when I was on the clean channel, and also when I was on the crunch channel of the amp, that if I wound the treble control and the bass control down to about 7, maybe 6, that covered pretty much everything, and there was enough thickness in the tone, but there was enough clarity as well. It wasn't overloading too much, it wasn't flubby in the low end, it was perfect for pretty much everything. But the beauty of this PTB system is that with a little flick of the finger and thumb, you can take yourself from twangy country sort of tones all the way through to thick, almost mid-pushed AC/DC style rock and roll sounds. It's a really great system, and it's really opened my eyes to the possibilities that you can have with a system like this. And it does make me wonder why more guitar companies don't offer systems like this, because it seems to be kind of logical, at least to me. Now when we went up to the really high gain stuff, I was again pleasantly surprised that for hard rock and punk as well, this guitar really handles things very well. Now with these Fender designed pickups, you're hearing every one of the 6 strings when you strum a full chord with lots of distortion as well, and even when we went to the metal stuff down in drop D, we got some thick chugs going on. Like I said before, you wouldn't buy this guitar purely to play metal, but it can do it if that's what you wanted to do. And if you're in one of those crazy bands that alternates between surf and metal, you can absolutely do that with this guitar. And finally, just a word on the ambient stuff. Again, these pickups are perfect for that, and with the Source Audio Collider, I had an array of brilliant delay and reverb tones at my fingertips. I didn't go too all in this video because that's for another specialist video, I think, but in terms of the overall tones you can get doing ambient stuff, this guitar is ideally set for that. And once I get a full and thorough setup on the vibrato bridge here, it will be even better and even more stable for that kind of stuff. But overall, in terms of tones then, I was bowled over by this guitar. It's absolutely fantastic and I loved the sounds I got from it. So as I alluded to at the start of this video, I'm on something of an offset guitar journey of discovery. It's a kind of instrument I've never really spent that much time with up until a couple of years ago. I'd never had a Jazzmaster or a Jaguar or anything even resembling a decent offset guitar. Now in the past couple of years I've had some Harley Bentons and I've had some vintage guitars in the offset genre, and I've got links to those that you can watch after if you click in the cards or if you click in the links in the description. But the G&L Doheny takes things up a notch for me. It's an absolutely fantastic instrument, and at the price point I really think it's excellent value for money too. But what about other guitars that are out there that can do a similar job? Well, in terms of the price point, €700, $700, somewhere like that, you're slightly below Fender territory and you're slightly above Squier territory. But there's a bunch of brilliant Squier classic vibe guitars that you could try that will give you the offset vibe, and there's a bunch of awesome Fender player guitars and also Fender Vintera guitars as well that are going to give you that sort of offset sort of vibe. So I recommend trying those out if you can. And if you want to try something a bit more unique, there's always going to be brands like Dan Electro who have an amazing series of offsets that you can try in a bunch of different styles. The other offset guitars that I've tried on Rich Words Music so far have been the vintage V65, and I think that's another great choice which I'd have no problems in recommending. That's full of Wilkinson hardware, and the one I tried had a hardtail bridge, so had great tuning stability too. P90 pickups in those and they sound fantastic as well, very, very jangly. And I also tried the Harley Benton JA60cc, and I really recommend you watch my video about that because that is a fantastic instrument at under €200, and I would really heartily recommend anyone trying one of those guitars out if they ever get the chance. Now, I've also tried the Harley Benton MS60 here on the channel. That's more of a Fender Mustang style of guitar. That's a great instrument too, and even more affordable than the others, but it's a slightly different ballpark. But I would say that if you're someone who's looking to get into the offset game, or you simply want to try something else at a sub $1,000 or euro price point, you can get the Doheny Tribute and have plenty of change left over, and it's an excellent guitar. I've really been surprised at how good and how addictive this one is to play. Like I've said a few times already, I've not tried these MFD pickups before and I've been really impressed. They're traditional sounding, they're full of clarity, but they're full of warmth as well. They're sparkly, they're twangy, they're jangly, and they're also aggressive and raucous when you turn on a bit of distortion. So they're wonderful pickups, and that combined with this really playable neck have left me with a difficult decision here, because is this another guitar that I want to keep? Well, yes, it absolutely is, and I think Music Vine just might have a hard job prying this one back out of my hands again. The one thing I need to do is get a full setup done to this guitar, get this vibrato looked at to make sure it's more stable and stays in tune, or maybe even consider putting a hardtail bridge on, but I actually think I want the vibrato for this one, and it will be an absolute keeper, and I'm sure it'll be one that I'll be happy with for years to come. But anyway, I hope this video has answered all of the questions that you may have had about the G&L Doheny Tribute. If there's anything else that you'd like to know, drop me a note down there in the comments and I'll do my best to answer all of you to the very best of my ability. And if you're still around, it would really make my day if you consider giving this video a like, or maybe even subbing to the Rich Words Music channel, because that really does help the little community that we're building here. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich and this has been the G&L Doheny Tribute, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.